Hello everyone, I'm Eren Eser. Do dogs wag their tails? I've thought about this many times, and I'll tell you the answer in this video. If you want to support my channel, you can like the video below and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications to be notified of upcoming videos. If you are a dog lover, when you see a dog approaching you by wagging its tail, you think that the dog is in friendly feelings and you do not mind stroking its head. Because dog's tail wagging is thought to be a sign of positive emotions, but is this always the case? Sometimes the tail wagging action may have other meanings. Let's just say that dogs wagging their tails is not a universal sign of friendship. Especially not an invitation to touch. Tail wagging behavior is actually a language in itself. Before touching the dog, we must make sure that we understand the true meaning of the tail wagging behavior. Why do dogs wag their tails? I wish our pets could talk to us. Scientists are doing a lot of work to develop ways to communicate with animals. In fact, a workshop was recently held at MIT exploring ways to communicate with animals using machine learning. It is not known where the studies on the subject will lead and whether it will be possible to communicate better with animals one day, but for now, we can manage with our body languages. We know that our dogs also struggle to communicate. We often witness their behaviors such as scratching the door when they want to go out, and barking by running towards the food plates when they are hungry. However, when it comes to tail wagging, communication becomes very complicated because this behavior has many different meanings depending on the wagging speed and shape. Before we get into the details of tail wagging styles, we should talk about the basic dynamics of tail wagging. If a dog is wagging its tail, the first thing we need to understand is that the dog is trying to interact. Dogs do not wag their tails when they are alone at home or when there is nothing that catches their attention. The desire to interact can sometimes be an invitation to be loved, but sometimes it has a different meaning. However, the way all dogs wag their tails is not the same. After many years of owning a dog, you may have mastered what your dog's tail movements mean. However, the dog's breed, tail range of motion, training, traumas, health status, and treatments affect the tail wagging style. What is meant by tail wagging style is similar to different dialects of a language. Elements that make communication difficult between different dialects of the same language, for example, the meaning of a word changes from dialect to dialect, or words in one dialect but not in the other, etc., also apply to tail wagging language. Key elements of wagging language. The first thing we should pay attention to is how high the tail is and the nature of the movement. Cue position. If the dog's tail is in its natural stance, we can assume that the dog feels comfortable. Since the dog is relaxed, its tail is also relaxed and, depending on the breed, the tail is extended towards the heels of its hind legs. You may think your dog is excited if he is slightly above his normal stance. A well-planted tail is a sign that your dog is in trouble. There is a high probability that it has picked up the scent of another animal, or a scent that may suggest danger. When you are with this dog, if another dog approaches you with a tail erect, you can tell that the approaching dog is in a dominant attitude. In this case, we recommend that you keep your eyes peeled. Trapping the tail between the legs is a kind of fear response. This behavior is interpreted as tension and obedience. Keeping the tail straight is considered a sign of curiosity and desire to explore. However, let us reiterate that these generalizations do not apply to all dogs. Tail movement. We should pay attention to the movement of the tail as well as the position of the tail. The rule of thumb is that an increase in the speed of movement indicates an increase in excitement. So we can understand that the faster the tail swings, the higher the excitement. However, we cannot be sure that the emotion that causes excitement is a positive emotion. The slow wagging of the tail requires more vigilance. If a dog wagging its tail slowly approaching you, then the point to be considered should be the tail position. If the tail wagging width is large and the wag is strong and fast, then other signs should be considered. If this tail movement is accompanied by the dog showing its teeth or growling, you can tell that the dog is in an aggressive manner. If the tail is wagging back and forth in a slow, heavy sway, the dog probably has an urge to interact with you. If the tail swing movement accelerates when you say hello to him, you can interpret that the dog is happy. A third recently defined element has been added to cue position and movement. This is which side of the dog's body the tail is wagging. Some researchers think that the swinging movement to the right is positive. They argue that what is done to the left is a sign of negative emotions. Conclusion. He should know that tail wagging behavior does not always have positive meanings. You should not try to hug every dog that approaches you by wagging its tail. You can pay attention to the generalizations above to better understand the dog you are interacting with. However, you should remember that these generalizations are generalizations and do not apply to every dog.